portion, another thing here, and I think this is really important, and I hope you understand everything that, every concept that I say here, because they're all related, and it's basically the same stuff over and over. Just try to stem the fear that you might have of, oh, this is all this stuff. Well, it's the same stuff over and over. And this stuff today is essentially 24 chords, or different ways of making a chord than you're used to. And right back to the 1-4-5 progression. And when I say 24 chords, I'm talking about movable chords. If you make an F chord like this with a bar that a lot of you still have trouble about mastering, if you just look at the top of that chord, what you're holding down at strings 1, 2, and 3, you're holding down string 1, and string 2 at fret 1, and string 3 at fret 2. So right there, you have an F chord, and it's an F chord because it has 3 notes that make up the F chord. And if you pull out your chart and go along with what I'm saying as I'm saying it, you'll see that you're holding down, at string 1, you're holding down an F note, at string 2, you're holding down a C note, and at string 3, you're holding down at string 3, fret 2, an A note. That's F, A, C, that's a full F chord right there. Now the chord, you can also check chord charts, you'll see it's a D minor 7th. And I'll challenge you to say, well, why is that a D minor 7th as well? It is a D minor 7th too. And it's a full D minor 7th. It's a partial D minor 7th with those first 3 strings. If you add on the open string 4, then it's a D minor 7th, and that should give you a good hint as to how you determined that that's a D minor 7th. But that's not relevant necessarily to what I'm saying right now. What I want you to know is that if you just move these first 3, this shape, you move it down successively right up the chromatic scale. Not a scary thing, right? The chromatic just means note after note. It's every note, no skips between notes. It's 12 notes and then repeats, 12 notes and then repeats. So you have a F chord here, F sharp, G at fret 3, G sharp at fret 4, A at fret 5, A sharp at fret 6, at fret 7 a B, at fret 8 a C, and I'll let you go right on down for the next 4 notes. So that's a movable chord. So if I just play those notes here, strings 1, 2, and 3, kind of deaden string 4 so that it's not sounding. And how do I do that? I just push my finger up a little into string 4 so that it doesn't vibrate. And I have a F chord sound. That's one chord. Hold that. The next chord we're going to look at is an A chord, the A major chord, and that means I have string 1 open and strings 2, 3, and 4 all held down at fret 2. But you know that's an A chord. However you want to finger it, there's a number of fingerings for that chord. I use that, as I told you, that playing James Taylor got me into this fingering, but I'm not talking about fingering right now on this chord, I'm just talking about what those notes are. So an A chord, once again, look at your sheet. An A chord consists of an A, a C sharp, and an E. That's the 3 notes, the chord triad of an A chord. And so if I move these same 3 down, right down the chromatic scale, right down the fretboard, then the notes, the chord name would change by each move. But I'm not going to focus on strings 2, 3, and 4. We're going to focus on strings 1, 2, and 3. And if I play those 3 notes, strings 1, 2, and 3, I have an A chord because I have an A at string 3, fret 2. I have a C sharp at string 2, fret 2. And string 1 open, I have an A. That's an A, C sharp, and A. So if I move that chord, and now we're gonna have to, have to hold down as I move this chord. I'm gonna have to hold down the note on string 1. So if I hold down that note at string 1 with my index finger, and then put either my pinky or my ring finger at string 2, fret 3, 2 frets away from it, same as it is in the same distance as it is in an A chord. If I hold that string 3 fret, or string 2 fret 3, and string 3 fret 3, I now have an A sharp chord. If I move that down one more, I have a B chord, B major chord, and if I move that down one more, I have a C chord. If I move that, and once again, I'm going to deaden the string 4 just by pushing I'm holding it down with my ring finger on string 3 and my pinky on string 4. If I push that up just a little, right here, I have a D chord. I have a C chord right there, moving that formation with my index finger now at string 1 and at fret 3. So let's use that a little, and now I'm going to talk about the 1-4-5 progression, how you can use what I just showed you anywhere that you want on the neck, to use these 3 string chords and just play a little melody based on the major scale. Why the major scale? I'll show you in a second. The major pentatonic scale in this case. And we're going to play a progression of a G, and then a C, back to the G, and then to a D, which leads us to the 3rd chord that we're going to use, which is I showed in the previous video, which is if we take a C chord here, the one that you know and can make, and you put your pinky at string 4, fret 3, you make that as C7. Now it's a real nice movable chord, this chord, this shape, because you're holding down notes at strings 2, 3, 4, and 5, so they're all compact. You don't have to do any gymnastics with your finger as you move this. You just don't play strings 1 and 6. But if I have a C chord here, don't play strings 1 and 6 by deadening string 1 with my index finger, and string 6 with my thumb, or you just don't hit it, just take target practice. I'd have a C sharp at fret 4, a D 7th, right, C sharp 7th, a D 7th at fret 3, a D sharp 7th at fret 4, and an E 7th, that's this. They're both E 7th chords, and then right on that, F 7th, F sharp 7th, G 7th, etc. So I'm going to use a G, C, D, 1-4-5 progression here at fret 3, where I'm making a G chord with just these 3, but you know that. See, here's a G chord, and use just the bottom of that, or you can use the whole thing if you can do that. So let's just take one little riff, and I'm going to play through that entire progression with one little change when we get to the 5 chord. But I'm going to go, and that is, I'm putting my ring finger at string 1 fret 7, which is a B note, the 3rd in the scale of G, right? And then I move up that same ring finger to string 1 fret 5, that's an A, and then a string 1 fret 3, that's the G, obviously, right? There's a G chord, here's a G, there's a G, and here's a G. String 3, string 1 fret 3, string 6 fret 3, and string 4 fret 5. So I'm going to go, and then play this. So I'm going string 1, fret 7, string 1, fret 5, string 1, fret 3, string 2, fret, excuse me, string 2, fret 5, and then finishing off coming back to this G note at string 1, fret 3. So I go. Now I'm going to go to a C chord, that's this. That's this move down, this formation, this A formation, played on 3 strings, move down to a C, and I do the same thing. And then back to the G. And now I'm going to make one change. I'm going to go the same 4 notes that we just played, and then but end on this, not surprisingly, D note at string 2, fret 3, and make the formation up here from the C7th, make it D7th right here. And then right back, finish off. So it comes out. Now you can play that with the full chords. You can go. E, excuse me, C. That to the G. Any of those G chords, and then or 7th up. So it works anyway. You can do that with a G, but if you did that with G sharp, it wouldn't. You don't have those chords, except all of them would be bar chords. But if you just play them on the 3 strings and then really learn and master this 7th shape, you're going to use that a lot in blues. That you would now, if I went to G sharp and did the same thing, it would be. Excuse me. And you can figure out what those chords are. It should be pretty easy. You just add one note to all the chords, and you end up with you end up with a G sharp and a C sharp and a D sharp. So anywhere that you want to play that down here. So that's C. And then to an F, which would be here, same chord, move down A, B flat, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F right here, and that's, okay, that's one way to play that. And you can fool around, as I showed you, all different ways. Go back to the real chord and play it, or not the real chord, but the 6-string chord that you learned. But let's take this now, this B, and I want you really have to get the sense of when you're doing a bend, is you're taking this note here. We're going to go back to the G example, and this A note, I'm bending that up to this B, and I'll play the same thing. Here's what we started off with. Well, I'm going to now not move down to string 1, fret 7. I'm going to stay on string 1, fret 5, and bend that note up to the note at string 1, fret 7. Very useful, because you can take that anywhere. If you were to play in a key of let's say B flat, you come down here to B flat. Here's B flat right here, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, or B flat right here. You know that if you have a B flat here and you make this shape behind it, that's a B flat chord. And that's puts you into this shape down here, part of that chord, just part of this chord, the top part of it is right here. And you can play that whole thing, right? That well, there's all kinds of variations, right? Okay, so that's a lot of fun, and you can, just memorize this chord shape. That goes right along with memorizing what this note is, because it fits right in. This chord shape right here, whatever this note is, means you're playing that chord. You're just playing the top portion of it, but you don't have to be bothered with going to this full chord, and a lot of times it's better. When Chuck is doing, he's not doing the whole chord, he's got going, the rock sound for a rock lead is just taking that interval, which happens to be a fourth, and that sounds really cleaner and smoother and rockier and all that stuff. So it's a great little exercise, and it's a great exercise for you to see how those notes fit in. You might also notice that you're working in the box that we talk about all the time here when I'm doing this. And that's where all those sounds are coming from. So that's a fun thing to master, play around with. It will really help you learn the fretboard. It'll help you learn about movable chords and those shapes and how important they are. And as you move those shapes, you can get the sense of the little boxes that we talked about that are all along here that help you in leads and help you in all kinds of playing. So enjoy that. And if you have any questions, of course, email me, give me a call, or whatever. If you want to rent Marco for the week, that's okay too. So, all right, we'll see you. Have a lot of fun, and happy holidays.